A very warm welcome one more time. We are all set to begin with another segment, another interesting session. And the topic is strategies for effective mobile advertising. And to do that, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you all with Mr. Shivam Ranjan, Head of Marketing Asia Pacific Region from Motorola Mobility India. Please put your hands together for the gentleman, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Adgully, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's great to see you all here. I think in August company, a lot of marketing folks here from the industry, and good to have this session with all of you today. Now, I know it's just been the lunchtime, and I know the lethargy kicks in after that. So I would want to start off this session by maybe asking a question. I know the Q&A is typically in the end, but maybe let me start with a question and try to get you all involved, and then we'll move ahead with the rest of the presentation. So, starting with the question, I just wanted to ask, I mean, the topic is effective mobile strategies, and I thought what better to start off than doing a quick check on the brief history of the mobile phone industry. So, any of you would like to attempt this? When was the world's first mobile phone call made? Anybody? I've given a picture and a hint there, but even a decade is fine, right? I mean, if you can guess within the decade, that's fine. Anybody wants to take a guess? 70s. Yeah, 70s? 34. That's correct. That's correct, actually. Great, perfect. 1973, that's absolutely right. 1973, April 1973 was the time when the first mobile phone call was made. This was made by Martin Cooper from Motorola. The device was a Motorola device. Motorola Dynatac was the name of the device. And this was made to actually the contemporary that he had in AT&T Bell Labs, who was also trying to develop a cell phone. So a very interesting scenario. In fact, this year is 2023, and we actually celebrated 50 years of the first mobile phone call. So on this note, yeah, thank you. Right. So on this note, I'll just quickly go through the brief history of the mobile phone industry. I spoke about Dynatac. The first mobile phone call was made in 1973, but actually the first commercial phone came out in 1984. This was Dynatac 8000X. It was a phone that weighed almost 2 pounds. It had a battery life of 30 minutes, half an hour, and it took about 10 hours to charge the phone, right? So just to give you perspective, that was the first phone. That was the first mobile phone ever. Then, of course, the mobile phone industry has moved through a lot of evolution. We've seen in 1992, actually, if you ask me when was the first smartphone, I think that's in 1992. Technically, this was the first smartphone. This was IBM Simon. This was a phone, again, a very large, bulky phone, had a battery life of about 1 hour, had an LCD screen, by the way, and touch responsiveness. You could use a stylus to do, but it was a monochromatic display, and it was very far away from, it could do some smart actions, but very far away from the phones that we know of today. 1997, the Nokia 6110 actually came up with the world's first mobile game, the Snake game. I don't know if any of you remember that, but yeah, that was that was the beginning of the mobile phone gaming industry, which is now over $150 billion worth. And this was when it all started. Then in 2000, actually this is a company called Sharp. I don't know, a lot of people may not know, but this is a Japanese company. They invented the first phone that came up with the concept of marrying a camera with a phone. Today it's given, right? I mean, we all take it as of course, right, mandatory. But that was the first time the camera came in a smartphone. And then, of course, 2007 is when Steve Jobs made wonders with the iPhone, which absolutely took over the world. It was the first time when we had a fully functional touch screen. It was a wide screen for video viewing. It had fully functional internet accessing capabilities. Again, this was something not common before that. And this phone had a camera as well, and was very light, slim. And this was basically the starting of the entire wave of smartphones. And Steve Jobs at that time said that we are decades ahead of the industry right now. And I think he was close to the truth, actually. Because the next phone that I have here is the HTC Dream. This was the first Android phone that came in 2008, and this ran on Android 1, right? So this is the first Android phone, but pretty far away from Apple at that point. Of course, today we're sitting in 2023, and we're in the era where, of course, Android, Apple, all the mobile phones have caught up. The technologies have evolved at a breakneck speed. We've gone from 108 megapixel to 200 megapixel cameras. We've gone from displays that are not LCDs anymore, AMOLED displays, 4K displays on mobile phones, and we've gone and revolutionized the form factors as well, right? I mean, from a standard candy bar to foldables now. I mean, you've got the Motorola's Razr, you've got Samsung coming up with the Fold, and various other products. So new form factors and everything innovating at a disruptive pace. So that's where we are today. And I just wanted to start with this context because we're going to be talking about the mobile phone advertising ecosystem. But when we come to the mobile phone advertising ecosystem, I think we need to understand the magnitude of the ecosystem as well. How big is it? Is it really as massive as people are saying it is? Well, yes. I mean, there are a few numbers that I have here to showcase the opportunity that we have, right? So if you look at the screen, I know there are a lot of numbers, but just to give you context, about 8.5 billion cellular mobile connections worldwide, right? So that's the size of the mobile phone connections, out of which about 5 billion are the internet users, right? And out of which about 90% use social media. But that's global. Let's talk about India because we're talking about India here today, right? Now, if you look at India, India itself is huge, right? I mean, 1.1 billion connections and almost 700 million internet users, right? Now, this is huge in its own right, but when you look at the next slide, I mean, if you look at the penetration numbers here, 48%, 49% roughly is the penetration that you have for the internet users in terms of the smartphones, right? And now this number is still, I would say, far away from its true potential. So while the number itself is great today, and I think there is immense potential in what we have today itself, right? I mean, this number of 692 with the smartphones being 50%, 90% accessing via mobile phones. But overall, if you talk about from the population perspective, this is only 48.7%. And China, if you see, is about 70% penetration from a population perspective. So I think that's the scope for us to grow, and there is immense potential. So this industry, while it's huge now, it's big now itself, it is growing and it will have huge potential to grow. Another 20 to 30 odd percentage points to grow, right? And you can see, I mean, 90% of the people accessing through their smartphones, spending a whopping 6.5 hours roughly a day on the internet. So this is why I think this topic is key today, the mobile advertising strategies. And I think while I would have loved to talk about everything that goes in mobile advertising and mobile marketing, I don't think it's physically possible for me to cover that in this session today. So what I've done is I've tried to cover some of the key trends which are prominent today and which are likely to be prominent in the near future, right? So let me go through that one by one. Now the first one that I have for you is video. That's something that we've been seeing for a while now, and it's a known fact that about 75% of the people actually prefer to watch a video versus reading about a product or a service, right? So that's what is happening today, and which is why the video consumption is increasing so drastically, and which is why you see brands using video as content more and more. In fact, video is the content piece that we have seen ourselves at Motorola to give the highest spike in searches, right? Which is basically an indication of how the awareness, the consideration, the purchase intent is spiking for the consumers. Next, I think this is another interesting one, voice search, right? I mean, This is globally, if you see, this trend is beyond the smartphones also. Apart from the smartphones, we are also looking at smart speakers that are penetrating the households. Almost 30% of the homes have a voice smart speaker, and globally the trends are that almost 43% of the people are using it to actually shop for a product, right? The voice control. And 51% are using it for research. So it's an important tool when it comes to consumers looking at your service, to understand your service, to buy a product. So it's extremely important. And specifically with India, what is important to note is specifically with India, with multiple languages, multiple regional languages, and the internet penetration going deeper into the rural areas, the tier 2, tier 3 cities, tier 4 cities, this will explode even further as more and more regional languages get involved into the voice search, right? The third is personalization. I think this is absolutely key to mobile advertising. Without this, I don't think we'll be able to justify mobile advertising, because this is very native to mobile advertising. This gives you the power to personalize the content for the consumers, to make them more attracted towards your product, to give them purchase intent, right? I mean, 75% of the consumers are more likely to buy a product if you personalize their experience for them. Now, one common mistake that I've seen some people and some marketers do is that people think personalization is just about sending a message with the name of the customer to them, right? It's not that. Just an email or a SMS with saying, "Hi Shivam, this is for you," doesn't work. Frankly, I mean, how many of you would have gotten a phone call maybe from a financial operator like NBFC, etc., saying, "Hi Shivam sir, would you like to buy this?" But that doesn't work, right? I mean, because they're offering you something that you don't want to. So I think what is important is to understand the consumer behavior, understand the consumer trends, and understand the consumer's consumption patterns, and then offer him or her something that they truly want. That is true personalization. So I think this goes beyond just having the name. This is about fully catering and sort of customizing the experience of the customer basis their usage patterns. Moving on, artificial intelligence. I think today artificial intelligence is still nascent. People are still finding the best ways to utilize this. But in my way, I think like in many other functions, I think this will definitely be revolutionary when it comes to the mobile ecosystem per se. And definitely from an advertising perspective, but also from a product perspective. I think the mobile phone is is the closest device today to the consumers, and AI will play a massive role in every experience that the consumer is going to have tomorrow through their mobile phones. And which is why it's not just important for us to be aware of AI, but also to understand what you can do with AI and invest ahead of the curve in AI to start building the capabilities that will tomorrow become the norm, right? I mean, of course, AI today is able to hyper-segment, target, and personalize at scale. But there is much more to AI than that, and I believe we should invest in that, and we should move towards that for sure. Moving on, the next trend or the next instance that I would like to highlight is omni-channel strategies. Now, one of the things that consumers or marketers believe is actually that mobile marketing strategies should only be limited to digital. It's a digital marketing strategy for sure. But when you combine that digital marketing strategy with, say, traditional marketing channels or retail marketing, that becomes a truly disruptive 360-degree marketing strategy that is able to give you higher results than what you would normally get potentially from just a single mobile strategy, right? So I think be open to these 360-degree ideas, be open to omni-channel strategies. And one of the very simple examples is actually QR. Now, I remember just recently during the Big Billion Days or the festive sales that happen every year in October, I saw a very good example of this. Flipkart actually had a full-page ad on Times of India, which was full of QRs. There were concentric circles of QR codes which were there on this full-page ad. There was nothing else. Flipkart, QR codes. Straight away, landing people to the products. And over 1 billion scans happened on a single day with that print ad, right? So incredible amount of traction, and that happened in a single day. Another thing that you can do with QR is not just, so basically you can take people wherever you want, and that's a physical, traditional media channel with a digital strategy. Another thing that you have is, for example, even at retail, using QR codes to augment the experience that you're giving through your promoters, or through your demos, or through your shop floor. That can be done. So that's omni-channel. The other one that I see has been a trend for a while, unfortunately hasn't really been utilized enough, but I really see it picking up now, augmented reality. And again, the mobile phone is key, is the key, or is the access to augmented reality, because you see the augmented reality through the eyes of your phone, through the camera of your phone. Now this has been there in existence for a while, hasn't been used enough, but I really think this has tremendous potential, and now finally we are seeing this being used. I'm seeing Flipkart, Amazon, all of them using augmented reality to give consumers visualization of the products within their homes, on their bodies, in their rooms, to give them better sense of whether the product works for them or not, drive consideration, drive purchase intent, right? So I think, again, a big trend to look out for. The next one that I like to talk about is social commerce. Yeah, I mean, this is again a trend that's been picking up slowly, to say the least. While there are platforms in India which have started offering social commerce, for example, Instagram is offering that, but in some other countries it's evolved at a much faster pace. So, for example, in US and some of the other economies, social commerce has become much bigger than India. But if you look at some of the statistics, I mean, currently it's valued at about $7 billion of business and is expected to do about $80+ billion of business by 2030. So this is definitely a trend to explore, so that you don't just use social media to communicate, to do brand out messages, but also to convert the consumer who's out there as a buyer for you, right? And last but not the least, I think live commerce. And this is not to be confused with social commerce. This is different from social commerce. Live commerce essentially is the entire experience of these interactive videos which are happening, which are being recorded live, where the product is being described live. Consumers can interact with the people live, and this could be on any platform, not just on social media. In fact, right now, if you see, the biggest users of live commerce are actually these big, large marketplaces that we have in India, which is Flipkart, Amazon of the world, right? So they've been using it extensively, even during their festive period, and now for launches. This is something that is picking up really well. In fact, we ourselves were a part of a live commerce launch as Motorola in the Flipkart Big Billion Day sale, and we saw about 700K concurrent viewers in 20 minutes. So that was kind of amazing to see, and I think that shows that this is a trend that's picking up. In fact, we believe that, of course, it's a combination of the excitement of online shopping, along with the excitement of interacting with the video. I think that's what makes this exciting, makes this interesting, and it's really picking up. And the Gen Z finds instant gratification out there, right? So you before you end a 20-minute session of live commerce, you end up buying a product out there. So it's really quick, instant gratification, and I think this is something that is really appealing to the Gen Zs today. So I spoke about some of the trends, and like I said, I could not cover all of them, but I think I spoke about some which I believe are important today and are going to be important as we move ahead. But just to demonstrate, some of the things that I said, it's important to also see some of these things come into action. So I've got a couple of case studies. I've got a couple of them which I really like and I believe could add value, which I wanted to present today. So my first example is of Domino's. Now, Domino's did this mobile advertising campaign at the time when Pizza Hut was actually the sponsor for the Super Bowl. And of course, they were getting massive paid media exposures through advertising. So they decided to launch this guerrilla marketing campaign, and a very simple campaign. What they did was, they launched a rewards program. They said, if you scan a pizza, you get 10 points on scanning a pizza. The important point to note here is, it was any pizza, not just Domino's pizza. So I think they gave people, even if they were using, say, Pizza Hut, they were using the Domino's app to scan the pizza. And the moment they scanned that pizza, they got some 10 points. And the moment they accumulated 60 points, they would get a free pizza from Domino's. So it was a massive, massive guerrilla marketing campaign, which really created a huge amount of UGC for Domino's and created a lot of traction for the brand and was able to actually, sort of supersede the SOV that Pizza Hut was getting through the paid media campaigns around it, right? So it's a fantastic example of a mobile advertising campaign that was done smartly and was able to create a tremendous amount of impact. The next one that I have is actually coming from the fact that I believe omni-channel strategies work, right? I mean, how do you combine mobile advertising with, say, a traditional marketing channel or an offline retail channel? So the next example that I have here for you is from a Japanese brand called Uniqlo, and this is a clothing brand. Some of you may know it, some of you may not, but it's now in India. What they did was they basically started a combination of social media, geo-targeting, and of course, giving consumers incentives to create this whole campaign, which was absolutely incredible. So let me just describe what they did. So they said that they had about 62 stores in the Tokyo area, and they said if consumers check in to any of our stores, checking in is basically showing your location on the social media platforms. So if you check in and publicly post it on social media, come to our store, check in the location, and you get 100 yuan coupons free. Now this led to a viral campaign with people sharing it on social media, more and more people getting influenced, using this as referral, and actually over the 3-day period, they saw more than 200,000 footfalls in their stores, and they saw a record 10 billion yuan in terms of revenues in 3 days. So that was the impact of this campaign, and again, a very, very impactful campaign that I want to share, and also an example, a great example of how you can do omni-channel using the mobile advertising strategies. Now with that, of course, I've spoken about the trends, I've spoken about some case studies which showcase these strategies well. But before I end, I just wanted to share with you all, my mantra on what I believe is important for us as marketers in the mobile advertising ecosystem. And I call this the 4 A's strategy. This is what I believe is important through my experience. So I'll share this with you today. The first one, according to me, is adapt, right? I mean, the entire ecosystem, the technologies in the mobile advertising system, in the mobile advertising ecosystem are changing very rapidly. The consumer consumption patterns are changing rapidly. The consumer behavior is changing rapidly. You have to listen, you have to be open to change, you have to be open to adapt. So that's the first thing. But adapting alone at your own pace may not be enough. So the second A that I have is be agile. It's important to be quick, be responsive to these changes. Adapt, but adapt fast. As many of you know, Nokia finally came to Android, but that was too late, right? I mean, if they had done it at the right time, possibly it would have been a different future for them. So be agile, respond quickly to these strategies. The third one that I have is augment. Right? So, which is again something that I've been saying as part of my comms, as part of my presentation today. It's not just about doing one strategy, it's not just about following one thing or one trend and doing it well. It's about combining these strategies to have the maximum impact. It's about combining the mobile advertising with traditional advertising as well as retail and creating higher and higher impact. So augment your campaigns, add strategies which are coherent, which can give you a coherent result together, right? And last but not the least, absorb or engage, right? Now, engagement, frankly, is native to the mobile platform. This is absolutely, this is the absolute minimum thing that you have to do, right? So you have to engage. To engage, you have to personalize. To engage, you have to be relevant to all those things that are required. But ensure that your campaigns are engaging, use creativity to engage, to absorb. And with that, I'm at the end of what I had to say today. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you so much, sir. With that, if you have any question, please raise your hand. We'll pass on the mic. Come on, you don't get usually, occasionally a chance to ask question to the gentleman.
No worries.
No questions?
If there are no questions, I'll be happy to interact with the people.
Personally, yes, one-on-one.
Later on. Thank you so much.
With that, sir, would like to request you to please take a picture here in the center.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And we do have something for you, a token of appreciation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Done?
Well, that was definitely an interesting session because I learned a lot from this presentation. I believe all of you have learned as well, right? So I think he deserves a round of applause. Come on, everybody. Put your hands together. Thunderous applause for the gentleman.